Well, credit card debt sits at a record high in the United States. In fact, we are seeing 29% of Americans say they have more money in debt than they do in savings. That's why having an emergency fund is more important than ever. And here to talk all about it, we have financial expert John Vandergriff from Blue Ridge Wealth Planners. Thank you for being here again, helping us get more financially literate.
That's the goal, yeah.
Talking about the emergency fund today, first off, explain what an emergency fund is and why it's important for people to not only know what it is, but also contribute to one.
Yeah, well, as the name suggests, it helps you in the event that you have an emergency, and that's whether it's a job loss, a big expense that you weren't prepared for, mainly so that you don't go into debt. You know, because when you look at what growth rates you get on investment accounts, and then you look at what you could pay if you get into credit card debt, those are nowhere close to each other when it looks long term. So the goal is to help you keep more of your money instead of paying it out the door to somebody else. And so when we talk about an emergency fund, making sure that you're spending within your kind of inflows as they come in is very important. And if you have money left over, kind of purposefully parking that in a place where it's accessible. And normally we try to target somewhere around 6 months of what your wages would be. That way, if you do get in that job loss scenario, you have kind of a cushion there. So for most Americans, that averages about $35,000. And so the first thought is, I have no emergency fund, and now you're expecting me to have $35,000. Well, the goal is to build that over time. It's not the pressure of, you've got to have this a month from now. But anything that you can do to start that process is helpful, because as we know, the more things you do consistently over time, the more that compounds and benefits you.
And I'm sure for everyone, it's going to differ on how long that will take them to build it up. But why is it important? I know you mentioned in case stuff happens that we don't account for, but why is it important to make that a priority rather than being like, oh, I've got $300 extra a month, I'm gonna spend it, but instead putting it in savings?
Well, when you think about it, emergency funds are one of those things that last really your entire financial life. You know, when you think about the very first job that you have, and then you have an unexpected expense with the house that you just bought, to all the way in your retirement years where you are no longer bringing in a consistent paycheck from your wages. So as you look at that, it's one of those pieces of the plan that is there in the event that you need it, but it typically transforms over time. So where you may start out in a bank account in the very earliest iterations of that, and then it will always make sense to keep some amount of money in the bank, but then you may have more liquid interest-bearing accounts that you look to later, just to kind of be there in a rainy day scenario, but still allow you to kind of balance the what do I want to enjoy today versus what do I need to be prepared for in worst case scenarios.
And then talk about, I know for the emergency fund, does it matter what kind of savings account you're putting that in, like a typical one, high yield, all of those types of things?
Well, going for as much interest as you can get is always possible, because that will help the process of adding money to your account. So, you know, obviously we still have use for checking savings type positions in traditional banks, but if you can find high yield options outside of that that are making 3 to 4%, that's better than 0.3 to 0.4% on certain accounts. So trying to find those, and then for like our clients, we will typically build accounts that are managed to where they're a little bit more aggressive than a bank account, but also have a little bit more interest or return potential, just as you kind of use that as a supplementary thing. So you almost have grades of, okay, this is immediate bucket 1, 2, 3, and then you just kind of work out from there.
And one of those points that we showed just there, it said leave that money alone once you're putting it in the savings account. I think that that is a very tempting thing for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, and especially like we benefit from 401k contributions being automatic, having that money divert to an account that we don't actually look at very often can be super helpful. And so that's where some of those high yield options could be beneficial, of just maybe even having it at a different institution, and then kind of looking to not look at that money very often and even act like it's an option for you to participate in.
Right, where it's not on that banking app every time you pull it up to check the balances.
To tempt you and, you know, spend it on a vacation or something.
Well, I know that you all, you're always having events and classes to try and encourage people to be more financially literate, learn things. Where can they go if they want to take advantage of some of those opportunities?
Absolutely. BlueRidgeWealth.com is where we have information on, you know, dinner events that we have, college courses that are specific topics, or retirement planning in general. And we have a YouTube channel where people can go and learn more about financial planning topics, just really getting enough information, and then maybe taking the next step of working with someone to create a plan to kind of take the funds that you have available and assign responsibilities to those to hopefully help you be more comfortable and confident. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much for giving us a little lesson today, a little bite-sized lesson. We appreciate you coming in.
Absolutely.
All right.